Okay, so at this point, this is how exciting the history of China in the Philippines is, no? And how exciting it is now, the preparation for the retracing of the sailing of the, or voyage and journey of the Sultan of Sulu to China, which you will do in April, hopefully this year, when the weather is better. So what else can you add before we listen to Art Valdez and the entire story again of this project?
Well, initially, actually, we're supposed to go last year of May, but we were overtaken by the sudden shift of the monsoon season. So that's why the voyage was postponed.
You're a photographer. What have you learned in the navigation and so on?
Well, I have learned that, reading something and actually doing something is completely different, right? It's actually more difficult, while you're on the boat, while trying to assess the weather, the condition, and how to, capture the
Do you
best
get the
angle.
8 hours sleep on board?
Well, actually, no more, because, one of the hindrances or the dangers of navigation, especially using old wooden vessels, is because we lack night capability.
Yeah, night navigation.
Yes. So during nighttime, the crews were normally more awake, so it was during day that we get to sleep. So it's a kind of reverse.
But you use a compass?
Well, we use compass, we use GPS because we have one service boat that contains radio, because we need to be able to communicate with the ports, with other vessels.
But you can imagine 600 years ago, they don't have these things.
They don't have that,
The skill that is required. And actually, there's one theory that mathematics came from the seafaring peoples, because they have to calculate all these.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, let's listen to the Sir Art himself, on this project. And we have a 5-minute video. Let's listen to and watch Art Valdez.
Ikot nitong mundo na pinagalaw ng ating ninuno, mga mandirigma at matatalino, mandaragat at butwanong katutubo. Sila nooy maunad na kabihas na, kuya ilang pusok sa kadagatan, sinasamba at kinakatakutan, sumpay sila sa tubig kalibutan. Naglalayag ang balangay, sila doon sabay.
For us here in the Philippines to greet the organizers, the officers, and members of this event, the first Golden Balangay Party. I think having such kind of award reminds our people, especially those of gun overseas, that we're indeed maritime people. By having a balangay, the boat that our forefathers used, the wave of migration, is a way of reconnecting ourselves to the people of to your own homeland. And again, having an occasion like this is a great opportunity for everybody to be together and to share stories and to look back, especially look back in the Philippines of what our people have done in order to keep up this maritime spirit. And we from the Balangay team, especially the Kaya ng Pinoy Foundation, is really excited and sending you this congratulations that we have reconnected to together, us who have really done and sailed all of Southeast Asia in 2009, 2011, and you have kept up that spirit. Of course, right now we're here in the Cultural Center of the Philippines, birthing area, and because we're on our way to go to China, and all these activities together is related of keeping up that spirit, and maybe in a way, people of the Golden Balai Award and your organizations and friends will be able to help us to continue this journey. That would be a big thing for us. But whatever this year we are all excited and we're happy to greet you, to congratulate you for the first Golden Award. Maraming salamat.
Magsama-sama, mag-ubad-ubad, tulad noon sa kaharian ng Butuan. Tanyag na yaman sa tibok silangan, lahing makikiti at may karangalan. Kung sundon lang sa tibuok na katawhan, ang dakilang aral ng bayanihan.
Okay, who composed the song? That was a beautiful song. Going all the way back to Butuan, no?
Yes. Actually, that song was composed by Dr. Ted Esguerra. He was also our expedition doctor, and he was also the
He was also on board, huh?
Yeah, and he was also the expedition doctor for the Mount Everest climb. So it was composed 7 years ago during the first voyage.
And including the tune?
Yeah.
Or just the lyrics?
Everything.
So he's a doctor, composer?
He's a doctor, composer, a writer, and everything, you know.
And while you're a photographer, recorder, sailor now?
Sailor now, yeah, probably.
And, well, in preparation also for the trip this year, last year, since you were not able to sail because of the climate or the weather conditions, you and the team, how many of them were you that went to Tetzhou to visit the Sultan of Sulu's tomb and museum and memorial?
Yeah, well, actually, it was, the Sultan went to China, or arrived in China in September of 1417. So, well, last year, 2017 is supposed to be the 600th, exactly the 600th anniversary. Well, technically, since he went September, even right now, it's still within the 600 years.
That's right, yeah.
So we went there, Sir Art, me, and together with the group of Mr. Teresita Angsi of Kaisa. So we went there as part of the delegation to commemorate the 600 years.
While Mr. Fung Yu is narrating this, maybe we can start rolling the images, many images that Mr. Fung Yu recorded and sent to us. Sige, tuloy mo, and we'll watch the images. Yeah.
So it was actually also my very first time to went to the Sultan's tomb. So I can imagine, I mean, reading it and seeing it in the pictures actually gives you a different emotional feeling when you're there. So it's like going back in time. I mean, standing there in awe of
like
all
this image.
Yeah, this is part of our delegation. This is at the Tetzhou Museum.
There's Teresita Angsi.
And this is one of the archway leading to the Sultan's tomb in Tetzhou. And you can see in this picture
the
descendants, you know, the oldest and the baby there is the youngest.
How many generations? 17 or 18?
It's almost 18 or 19 now, especially with the small baby. You know?
There's Art Valdez there.
Yeah.
Is that you beside him?
Yeah, that's me.
You. You look very
me.
different there. You don't have
I'm wearing the same barong, you know.
Okay.
So we gifted the descendants Balangay Bug and some of the shirts we
I didn't see this memorial yet, that big granite. Anyway, tuloy natin. This is the entrance to the mosque, is that it?
This is the entrance to the museum in the tomb.
That's right.
There are actually two museums. The museum in Tetzhou, which is different, and then the museum, cultural museum of the Sultan, which is inside the tomb itself.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the marker. Actually, the marker is from the National Historical Institute.
In the Philippines, or
yes,
there, from the Philippines to China.
That's from the Philippines. So you can see that's a very interesting
By
marker.
the way, let's thank also Mr. Carlos Chan
Oh yeah.
for helping maintain the entire facility
Yes,
there,
yeah.
costing tens of millions over the years.
Yes, that's true.
Of OEC.
Oishi.
Of OEC.
That's correct.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's
So-
kaisa.
Yeah, that's kaisa. So that was more or less the highlight of the troop, and we donated a replica of the balangay. So it's being shown there at the Sulu Cultural Museum, and of course some of the Kris. This is paying our respects to the Sultan, for everyone. Well, one interesting.
That's a tomb right behind.
Yes, that's the Sultan's tomb behind it. So you can see the simplicity of
Yeah.
it. It's just a mount. But apart from that, you also
These
see
are
the tomb,
tombs of the
second wife,
second wife.
and the two sons
two
who
sons,
remains.
yeah,
So Andulu and Wenhala. And that was Princess Chasel Kiram.
who was also part of
the
another delegation, but you got to meet there.
Yes, yeah. So, and that is our
with the
meeting
Chito,
with
Ambassador
Ambassador
Chito Santa Romana.
Yeah, at the Beijing University of Beijing. So there. And that's part of the cultural show, I mean, on the night we arrived in the zoo, they actually have a cultural show based upon the life of the Sultan. So that was shown to us when we were there.
I think we have an image of the route of the Sultan of Sulu. Is that ready there? Yeah, that's the route.
Yeah.
Is that the route you're going to take
Yeah,
also?
that is the route, our original route we plan to trace, but probably this year there might be some small changes. But generally, the two new balangay boats were constructed in Maimbung, Sulu. Maimbung is actually the old seat of the Sultanate, and the woods for the boat were donated by former Governor Sakurtan.
Sakurtan,
So
yes.
we started our voyage in Sulu and then go all the way to Manila, and then from Manila we'll probably go straight and then cross the sea to Guangzhou. Guangzhou is actually the first port where the Sultan...
Guangzhou is in Fujian province.
Yes, in
the
Fujian.
northern part of Fujian province.
The southern part.
Southern part?
Yes,
Okay.
the southern part. So it was also the first port where the Sultan visited when he arrived in China. And then from there, we'll probably, since the old route the Sultan took through the Grand Canal is now heavily siltated, so we can no longer cross.
Okay.
So probably a select few of the group will probably take a train or a plane to visit the tomb. That's the
Okay.
plan.
So the Grand Canal route will not be taken anymore?
No, it will not. It cannot be taken
From
anymore.
Chuanqiu, is that right? The
Yes.
Chinese pronunciation, Chuanqiu. The Sultan went to Zhejiang, is that right? Because
Hangzhou.
Hangzhou is in Zhejiang, or?
I'm not quite sure, but then he took one of the key ports, and then from there he go through the Grand Canal in order to reach Beijing.
And the Grand Canal can go straight to Beijing.
Yes, at that time,
at that
600
time.
years ago.
So it's not being used now.
It's being used now, but of course there are already modern bridges,
Yes, yes,
a port, so it's really no longer, navigable.
Okay. And how many days of sailing do you expect to do?
To cross into China will probably take anywhere from 3 to 5 days of continuous sailing.
Okay. And did the Sultan pass by Vietnam before?
Well, there was...
Because I heard some accounts that he passed by Vietnam.
Well, there are two contentious saga, one is he went through the Southeast Asia, which was exactly the route we took during the first voyage, And
In your first voyage, where did you reach?
we exited Zamboanga, Tawi-Tawi, and then from there we passed by Brunei, then Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Cambodia, up to the waters of Vietnam. But again, we were overtaken by the monsoon. So we can no longer sail straight. So we have to turn back.
Okay. And so this, so there are two contending stories or saga. One that he passed by Vietnam, the Sultan of Sulu. The other is straight to Fujian.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How many are going to be on this trip now?
On this trip, there will be more or less about 35 of us.
10 each, 10 almost.
Distributed on 3 boats.
Yeah, 3 boats, yeah.
Yes.
But the Sultan of Sulu had 300
300
entourage
plus.
of 300 with him, over 300.
Yeah.
So he must have had bigger boats or some bigger boats.
More boats.
More boats, siguro 10 or maybe a dozen boats.
Yeah, and more resources.
And more resources. Will you be bringing, I'm sure, because the Sultan, I'm sure, brought along pigs. No, not pigs, I'm sorry. Maybe chicken and goats.
Goats.
And of course, maybe coconuts, I don't know.
Well, we'll probably bring some token, items. But right now, we still really haven't finalized what to bring. But we do have some mementos.
Will you have a Philippine Navy or Coast Guard to help you along in case of emergencies and so on?
Well, we hope, the Coast Guard will be there to assist us. And then we're hoping that also the China side will also have the Coast Guard, once we enter its territory.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. Again, Filipinos and Chinese who are really one Austronesian family working together and reestablishing this contact that is actually 1,700 years or more.
More in the making.
More, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. And before we end and we ask for the final message or insights from Mr. Fung Yu, this is just a short clip, maybe 1 minute, from the way during my visit with Princess Jaisal of the Sulu Sultanate, the 17th or 18th generation of the Sultan of Sulu, Princess Jaisal. We visited in April of 2017, and this was how she was received. Let's watch this.
This cousin me.
In that trip, I was a cameraman, so I could not be seen in any of the frames. But well, we have only maybe 30, 40 seconds, which I reserve for you to convey your message and the message of Mr. Art Valdez.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Kamentong. In all this, I always think that 600 years may be a drop of water in an ocean of memory, But it's the ties that binds between the people of the Philippines and the people of China. And that's something what we want to bring out, that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
That was how our ancestors and how the ancients way of doing, in all this, we are just one people. As what our expedition leader Art Valdez always says, the waters are there not to divide.
That's right.
But to unite.
Yes.
And with that, he always encouraged us to dream, So we can be dreamers.
Yes.
But I might want to add that in order to realize our dreams, we must wake up.
And let me say, mabuhay Art Valdez. And there is a small booklet here produced by Kaisa, by Teresita Angsi's foundation, The Ties That Bind. I'll buy 50 copies and give it free to our audience. If you can text me your request. Only 50. I cannot afford more. At 0917-865-8664. Or email us if you're in a foreign country at mentong, MENTONG, 2011@gmail.com. Okay, with that, maraming salamat. Mabuhay. And may the balangay sail back and forth to China and the Philippines forever.